Today, let's break down the topics of confirming and canceling bookings. I'm Mike Quackenbush, and this is Till We Make It, and this one's going out to my buddy Sean Phoenix in Pittsburgh. Please be advised, like everything you're going to see here on Till We Make It, it comes from me. It is my opinion or drawn from my experience. Have I written the rule book on professional wrestling? No, nor has anybody else. Go ahead, look on Amazon. It doesn't exist. It's fake. But I sure have performed on, I have promoted, produced, written tons and tons of live professional wrestling events going back decades, and I am going to share my personal experience with you when I define what makes up confirming and constitutes a good reason for canceling a booking that you've accepted. I hope that this next bit does not come across as if it has been cribbed from a Jerry Seinfeld stand-up routine when I say to you, if you have confirmed that you're going to be somewhere, it's set in stone. You have given your confirmation, and that comes without conditions. So allow me to now supply you with an example of what sounds like a confirmation, but is not actually a confirmation at all. Like this. Okay, I'm confirming that I can be there if I can get a ride. That is the absence of confirmation. It is conditional. You are saying that you will only be there if this condition is met, if you can find a ride. So that is not a confirmation. So if your appearance at an event, sticking with the example we just used, is contingent upon your ability to find a ride, you need to withhold that confirmation until those conditions have been satisfied. You either do find a ride or you do not find a ride. And if you do, then you are able to confirm. And if you don't, then unfortunately, you've got to turn that booking down. Agreeing to a professional wrestling booking without conditionality might seem like a weird topic here on Till We Make It, but here's why I'm going to justify it to you. Listen up. A lot of what I want to make here is to help you establish a legacy that you can be proud of. And legacies, by and large, are not written by you and I. They are written by those who observe our careers from the outside. But in this one particular instance, you have an enormous amount of control. Are you a person of their word? Do you appear where you are supposed to appear? If you give your word to a promoter that you're going to be in this town, on this date, performing in this function, do you honor that? And unless you just got involved in professional wrestling half a cup of coffee ago, I bet you can start to name people who have sabotaged their own careers by their failure to honor their bookings or other commitments. And when you confirm that you are going to appear somewhere, you better show up. Back in the early 00s, there was no hotter act in stand-up comedy than Dave Chappelle. But when season 3 of his Comedy Central show, Chappelle's Show, came around, he walked off his own TV show. He walked away from a $50 million deal with Comedy Central and just started flaking out on all of his commitments. He missed booked stand-up comedy appearances and at one point just upped and went to Africa on no notice, abandoning all of his responsibilities here. And it took his career years to recover. He was the most sought-after stand-up comedian on earth. And just that deviation derailed his forward momentum for nearly a decade. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be the top stand-up in the world, the top musician, or the top professional wrestler out there taking bookings. But once you prove you are not someone good to their word, your reputation is almost irreparably maligned. And even the sort of thing that might strike us as a minor misstep always ends up being the one thing other people inevitably remember about you. So please don't make it that you're the person who confirms bookings but then doesn't show up. Because at the end of that confirmation, there's a conditional asterisk. To turn around to someone who you confirmed with and then say, well, I couldn't find a ride. Unfortunately, it's way too late for that. Once you give your confirmation, that is your word that you will appear where advertised. However, there are those occasions when you might have to cancel a booking, and this does happen, however, infrequently. There are very few excuses in my mind that justify a cancellation that isn't made more than 30 days in advance. Once you're within that 30-day window, it doesn't matter if some competing booking came along, well, this thing is closer to my house, or this thing is offering me a little more money, or this is against an opponent I would prefer to be working with. Once you're 30 days out, you're really past the safety zone for canceling on any booking except in the event of a family emergency, like my significant other is giving birth today, or I've experienced a death in the family. When you're having a family emergency, all bets are off, and it is only the most curmudgeonly of promoters that won't understand the severity of a family emergency. There was a wrestling organization I worked for more than a decade now, where every single time that came back around on my calendar, I would shake my head and think, why on earth am I going to work for this company? And you know what? That wasn't their fault. It was my fault, because I'm the one that accepted the booking. So if you have bookings, places that you don't wish to appear, maybe it's time for you to wrap up with that organization, to let them know that maybe going forward, you're not interested in accepting any more bookings. And this will happen throughout the course of a wrestling career. You will spend some time at a particular company, you might discover that their culture is just not for you, and then it is time for you to move on. And don't feel weird about that. It is a natural churn that happens over and over again, dating back decades in professional wrestling. And if there is a place like that in your career where you don't like the locker room morale, you don't like the way that they handle money, you don't like the way that you're being treated when you're there, it is on you to not accept the next booking that comes your way. It is perfectly acceptable to turn down offers that come to you. Don't feel like you must accept every offer that comes your way. Just cracking this topic open makes me think I might want to revisit an episode of my podcast, Kayfabe 2.0, and update it a little bit for us here on Till We Make It. It is entirely about figuring out what you might be paid for a booking and how to negotiate that price. But that is going to have to wait for a separate video, I feel. So let me leave you with this. 1, it is never acceptable to simply no-show a booking. Doesn't matter who you are, a day one professional wrestler or the Dave Chappelle of stand-up comedy, it does not matter. It is never acceptable to no-show a booking that you have accepted. And confirming bookings means that all conditions have been met. It's too late to introduce a condition like, well, if I can find a ride, once you've confirmed. Your confirmation is your word, and ultimately your word informs your reputation and your legacy. And if you happen to be in a situation where you've got to cancel a booking, you better do so more than 30 days before that date arrives. Inside that window of time, it is only acceptable, in my opinion, when you are having a family emergency. A handful of the recent topics we've been able to break open here on Till We Make It came by way of friends of mine, or they are culled from the comments section below. So feel free to join the dialogue. Let me know what would be helpful to you to see explored on this channel. And while you're doing it, a couple favors, please. There's like, subscribe, notification bell. You know all of that. You know I need you to share this with other professional wrestlers, even ones that are currently training and are not yet ready to take the stage. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention my book, 7 Keys to Becoming a Better Performer. A book for fellow pro wrestlers is something I penned for you. It's available in audiobook form over at audible.com. You will find that I have narrated it myself. And you could get a print copy or a digital copy delivered to your mobile device from the fine folks over at amazon.com.